Greetings folks, I am Mitch McKidd and this is my gaming channel. Greetings ladies and gents, I am Mitch McKidd and welcome to my first ever discussion video for YouTube. And what a lot of things I'm going to be talking about today. And as you can probably tell, I've actually decided to have some footage of me playing F1 Race Stars, which is Formula 1 Race Stars for the PS3, so that this discussion video won't get boring. Basically today, I'm actually going to be talking about the Monaco Grand Prix, which only happened and finished a couple of hours ago. What did I think of this race in particular this year compared with the last few years? Well, to be very honest, I still have mixed emotions about it. I am really, and where do I begin? Okay, first of all, it all happened when Lewis Hamilton led the entire race up until the safety car incident, which happened after what happened with an incident between Romain Grosjean and Max Verstappen, both driving for Lotus and Toro Rosso respectively. And I wouldn't fault any of them for causing the safety car because I thought that was a pretty horrible accident. But you know what? It caused Hamilton to pit and lose the race, thanks to a huge error, rather than a massive mistake on purpose by Mercedes, robbing Hamilton of a crucial victory, which would have allowed him to get the points necessary to break away from Nico Rosberg in the championship. Yeah, what can I say about this one? Well, let's look at the positives first before going through to the negatives. First positive is, of course, McLaren. Now, as you can probably tell, McLaren had an absolute abysmal start to the year, where going into this race, they are yet to score their first points because their first year of partnership with Honda has been so difficult, resulting in breakdowns and, of course, not being as powerful as the other cars relative to Renault, Ferrari, and Mercedes-powered engine cars. But as you can probably tell, by this race, things have started to improve, and by looking at the practice times and the qualifying pace they had, it looks pretty promising to see that McLaren are finally getting back up into the points scoring positions. But of course, unfortunately, yesterday's qualifying was a bit of a shambles for both Alonso and Button, because Alonso had retired because of a problem with his car, and Jenson Button failed to make it to Q3. But today, it was the exact reverse. Although sadly, Fernando Alonso had yet another breakdown like what happened last time at Spain. But good old Jenson Button actually managed to score in the points today. 8th place for first 4 points of the season. I have to say, finally we managed to get McLaren have finally managed to get a great day for themselves. And I have to say, I absolutely can congratulate Jenson for keeping 8th place and keeping everybody behind at bay. That was a fantastic race by the mighty Jenson Button. And I hope McLaren can actually keep up this whole momentum throughout the next races to come. Hopefully, Britain could actually provide them with some more points. And with more upgrades coming, I hold great promise for that team. Next up we've got is, of course, Red Bull. As much as I don't like Red Bull being an overrated team, I kind of found that their point scoring was pretty impressive, and after a difficult start to the year like last year, it seems like their point scoring is becoming more prominent now. And not forgetting that great performance, Daniel Kvyat actually did a fantastic job with getting his first top 5 position, let alone his best ever finish to a Grand Prix. I actually thought that was a pretty good race from Kvyat. And as for Daniel Ricciardo, it was another average race for him, and I don't know why he decided to give the place back through team orders if he didn't pass Lewis Hamilton or get near to Sebastian Vettel. Honestly though, I have to say it wasn't. It was a justified order, but I could definitely tell they were trying to do a Mark Webber there to poor Ricciardo. Sorry about that. Anyway, next up is of course Ferrari. Another podium for them, but it had to be Vettel, hasn't it, instead of Raikkonen. Now, I'm going to say this right now, I don't think Vettel is as bad as he was, considering that he's competing for one of the most successful teams of Formula 1. But to be fairly honest, I kind of think that him second and Raikkonen struggling, I kind of think that's a bit unfair on the good old Finn Raikkonen himself. Oh, and speaking of Raikkonen, he actually amused me quite a lot with him actually intentionally swearing on the pit radio. Well, over standards of this being child friendly, they decided to bleep it out, so. But I will say this right now, I think there's got to be some people who want to upload Kimi Raikkonen's rants, well, quite amusing rants, onto YouTube. Pretty much Formula 1 Insider could actually do that, so pretty much we could see another top 10 Formula 1 pit radio transmissions. Well, another one actually. As you can probably tell, I actually think that Ferrari are really good competitors to Mercedes, and I really think that is pretty good. Okay, time for the negatives. Oh boy. Although there was some more overtaking compared to last year, I will say this right now that the action kind of was a bit too sporadic, to be fairly honest. It wasn't that much. There was, at times, Monaco can be amusing if there is a lot of action. But I've noticed throughout the last few years it actually kind of gone a little bit downhill, seeing that there's not much action in the actual races themselves. And you can probably tell it's not really that, you know, justified, just to see that they haven't even done a lot of action. But then again, it's racing, I suppose, so yeah. And considering that's Monaco's most difficult circuit in the world to overtake, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Next, of course, is some incidents that happened, specifically Felipe Massa. Now, I absolutely sympathise with Williams having a disappointing race today because they were struggling, not only that, but also because of Hulkenberg's unjustified collision with Felipe Massa. He actually was really taking a battering, and he went a lap down just before he got away from his pit box. Although Hulkenberg was actually a bar down, but not lapped yet. I actually think that was kind of Hulkenberg's fault because he actually deliberately did that on purpose. I will definitely say this, that he also tangled with Fernando Alonso, who had a 5 second stop go penalty when he took it into his pit lane. His pit stop actually. What the hell? The FIA is really infamous for making absolute fully justified decisions over who's to be penalised and who's going to get away with what. And I think that was a bit too harsh on what they did to Fernando Alonso. Now, specifically at the time when McLaren was struggling to get points. Well, they're starting to get points, but then again, I think Fernando Alonso would have been extremely furious with the FIA. He would definitely want to see Charlie Whiting and confront him. But then again, the FIA are rule makers, so I wouldn't really argue with that. But probably the most infamous part of the race, and probably my biggest negative and biggest critique of the race, is of course how Mercedes lost Lewis Hamilton the win in the first place. It comes back to the comment I made about the Verstappen-Grosjean incident. I kind of think that they also could have pitted Nico, and that Ferrari could have pitted Sebastian because they were worn out tyres, and that they could have finished all in a 1-2-3 formation with these soft tyres. But why did it only pit Hamilton was far beyond me. I think that was extremely poorly, an extremely poorly thought out, sloppy decision by the pit wall and the pit crew. I just think that the Mercedes management had absolutely miscalculated and pretty much misunderstood the gravity of the situation of poor Hamilton. Hamilton was about to win his first Monaco Grand Prix since 2008, and then guess what? A big fat slap to his face meant that he would never ever want to win the race ever again, giving Rosberg another win. I mean, what the hell, Mercedes? Are you trying to make Hamilton the next Mark Webber? Because as much as I can tell, you are pretty much not giving Hamilton a chance to actually get away with the gap. I will say this, that if Lewis Hamilton kept winning, it kind of gets repetitive. But goodness gracious me, couldn't you have at least let Hamilton finish on the soft tyres? Because that would have actually make him the tyres would still be in working order. I think the tyres were still in working order, and yet you chose to pit him. I kind of think that I agree with what Niki Lauda said about the team having a bit of poorly made decision. And I think Toto Wolff would have said this was unacceptable, that Hamilton was cheated out of the win. I think that poor old Lewis was unfairly cheated, and wanted to have Rosberg again to win. I'm just really cross with them. Yet more favoritism towards Rosberg and more hate, more, just unjustified decisions towards Hamilton. This is the reason why I think Formula 1 has gotten a little bit more, political in terms of this. Yes, it's that bad. I will say that while the Monaco Grand Prix was a lot more exciting than the last few years, I would definitely say that that Hamilton being robbed of the victory pretty much ruined it for me. As a huge Hamilton supporter, this was the anti-climax of the lot. And he was even beaten by Vettel, who finished second, and he couldn't even keep up with him. But then again, it's early days, so Hamilton could at least try and make it up with a win in Canada. And that's what I'm hoping to see. So this is Mitch McKidd signing out saying goodnight. Thank you for joining me. Peace out, and I can't wait to get Splatoon, which is coming for me on Friday. I can't wait for that game to come out.